Hey guys, welcome to the Creative Arena. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a card that looks just like this with inverted border radius. Now, inverted border radius has been on the trend for quite some time now, and a lot of creators have made wonderful videos about it. And I decided to make this video about it as well. Now, in this tutorial, you're going to learn how to achieve something that looks like this and create wonderful other designs by yourself without the use of image masking, SVG, or any line of CSS code. And you can also add the inverted border radius to containers as well, and it is fully responsive on all devices, as you can see here on tablet, as you can see on mobile as well, depending on how well you're able to tweak the method to achieve what you want to achieve. And you can also create other wonderful designs, layouts, like something like this with as you can see, a video background playing, and then a click button here, and something that looks like this as well, and so many other layouts depending on how creative you are. Without further delay, let's dive in and get started. So in our Elementor editing screen, the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to add a Flexbox container. So we're going to select this structure here, and then next thing we're going to do is we're just going to come over here and then make sure we justify content to the center, and then we'll align items to the center, and then we'll come over to the minimum height and change the unit from pixel to VH and give it a value of 100 VH. So we'll have something that looks like this. The next thing we'll do is we're just going to delete this container here, and we're also going to delete this container here. So once we've done that, we're going to have this container. So we're just going to call this container the parent container, and then we're going to come over here and give it a width of 33%. So we'll have something that looks like this. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to click on this plus icon and drag in another container to it, and this container here we're going to call it the image box, and we're going to duplicate the container. Then we're going to call the second one the content box. Okay, so now for the first container, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and change the content width to full width. We're going to give it a minimum height of 300 pixel. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to come over here, and then we're going to justify content to the end, and then align items to the end as well. And we're going to head over to the style option. Now for the style option, we're going to change the background color to red. I'm going to give it a background color of red, like so. And then we'll come over to the border, and we're going to give it a border radius of 30 pixel all around. So we're going to have something that looks like this. Okay, so now that we've done this, the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to come over here, and then we're going to add a container again. I'm going to drag this container and drop it here. Now for this container here, we're just going to come here, and then we're going to change it to full width, and we're going to give it a width of 55%. Okay, and then we're going to give it a minimum height of 90 pixel. So we'll have something like that. And then once we've done that, the next thing we're going to do is we'll go to the style option. For the style option, we're going to give it a background color of white. Okay, and then we're going to go over to the border and give it a border radius of 35 pixel. First, we're going to unlink this, and then we're going to give it a value of 35 pixel to the top only. Okay, so we're going to have something like this. Okay, now that we've done this, the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to come over here to the content box. Now for the content box, we're going to toggle this, we're going to have the content box. Now this, we're just going to go over to the layout setting. For the layout setting, just pretty much what we did in the image box, we're going to do it here also. So we're going to give it a minimum height here of 300 pixel as well. We're going to come over here to justify the content to the start, and then the align items also to the start. Then we'll go to the style option and to the styles. Now for the style, we're going to give it a background color of red as well. we're going to give it a background color of red, just like we did for the image box. Okay, and we're going to come over to the border, and give it a border radius of 30 pixel all around, just like we've done initially. Okay, so now that we've done this, the next thing we're going to do is just take a look at what we've done. Yeah, all right, so the next thing we're going to do is just going to click on this plus icon here, and we're going to add a container within it, within the content box, and we're going to call this container the inner container. We're going to call it the inner container. Now for this container here, we're going to come over here and make sure the direction is set to row horizontal. Okay, so now that we've done this, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over to the gap and make sure the gap is set to 0, and then we're just going to add another container within it. So we'll drag this container here, and we're going to duplicate the container. Okay, we're going to call the first one left, and then we're going to call the second one right. Okay, all right, so for the left container, we're going to change it to content width to full width, and we're going to give it a width of 50%. Okay, and then we're going to give it a minimum height of 90 pixel. Okay, so we're going to come over to the second container. Now for the second container, we're going to do the same, change the content width to full width and give it a value of 55 pixel, sorry, 55%. Okay, and then we're going to come over to the style option for this container here, and then we're going to give it a background color. We're going to give it a background color of red, and we're going to go back here. We're going to go back here to the layout, and then we'll come over here, and we're going to justify the content in this particular, in the right container. We're going to justify the content to the center, and then align item to the center as well. And then we're going to come over here to the style option, and we're going to go to the border, and then we're going to give it a border radius of 30 pixel to the top. First, we're going to unlink this and give it a border radius of 30 pixel to the top, and then we're going to give it 30 pixel to the right as well. Okay, so now that we've done that, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go back to this left container here, and we'll head on to the style option. Now for the style option, we're going to give it a background of white, background color of white, and then we're going to come down to the border and give it, unlink this, and then we're going to give it a border radius of 20 pixel to the bottom only. So we're going to have something that looks like this. Okay, so now that we've done this and everything is, our design is coming into form, the next thing we're going to do here is that we're just going to come over here and come over to this container here, that is the image box container. We're going to go back to the image box container, and then what we're going to do on the image box container is that we're going to go to the advanced settings for this container, and then we're going to come down and give it a z index of 1, and then we're going to go to the margin, and we're going to unlink this margin. We're going to unlink this margin, and then we're going to come over here and give it a value of minus 90, value of minus 90 pixel. Okay, all right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the content, this content box here. For this content box here, we'll go down to the right container, this right container here. We're going to go to the advanced settings, and we're going to give it a z index of 5. So we'll have something that looks like this. Okay, so we can see that our shape is not fully what we want. This space is too small, so we made a mistake with one of our values. We're just going to fix that, and I'm just going to come over to this right container here, and I'm going to go over to the layout, and for the layout I'm going to change it from 35% to 50%. So we're going to have, for the right is 50%, and then for the left the layout is also 50%. So we're going to have this. All right, everything now looks better. Yep, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're just going to give our inverted border radius here, and then an inverted border radius here as well, and then an inverted border radius here as well. To achieve this without the use of any line of CSS code, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that easily. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to come over here, toggle this content box, and then we'll head over to the image box. Now for the image box, I'm just going to go to click on this Rubik's cube icon here, and I'm going to come over here and then drag a spacer, and then I'll drop it here. So now this spacer here, I'm going to drag it and drop it right above this container here, so we'll have the spacer here. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to come over here, edit the spacer, and then for the space we're going to give it a space of 60 pixel, and we'll go to the advanced settings, and then we'll change the custom width to custom width, and then we're going to give it a value of, change the percentage to pixel, and give it a value of 60 pixels, so we'll have something that looks like a square. Alright, so now that we've done this, we're going to come over here to the background, and let's give it a background color so we see precisely what we're doing. So I'm going to give it something like a green color, like this. Okay, so we can see what we are doing. Yeah, this is what we are working with. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to come over here to the layout. Now for the layout, we're going to come down to the position, and then we're going to give it a position of absolute, and then we're going to come over to the horizontal orientation and set it to the right, and then we're going to give it leave the offset at 0, and then we'll come over to the vertical orientation, and we're going to set the vertical orientation to the bottom. Okay, and we're going to give it an offset of 30%. So we're going to change this unit from pixel to percentage, and then we'll give it an offset of 30%. So place it precisely here. This is where we want it to be placed, just right here. Okay, so now that we've done this, the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to come over to the border, and then for the border we're going to give it a border radius of 50 pixels, so we'll have a perfect circle like that. So we're going to come over to the box shadow. Now for the box shadow, we're going to give it a box shadow color of solid white. Okay, so we're just going to come over here, give it a solid white, and we're going to come over to the blur and change the blur value to 0. And then for the horizontal, we're going to give the horizontal a value of 30, and then we're going to give the vertical a value of 30 as well. So we'll have something that looks like this. So as you can see, we'll have something that looks like this. Now the next thing we're going to do is just go back to the background, and we're going to remove this green color and give it a transparent color, so we have something that looks like this. We've perfectly created our inverted border radius here. So the next one we're going to do is for this here, and then for this here. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do to achieve that, we're going to come here and we're going to duplicate this spacer as well. Okay, and then I'm just going to drag this here. Alright, so now for this spacer, we'll go to the advanced settings, and then we're just going to come over here and come down to the position absolute, and horizontal orientation we're going to set it to the left, and then we're going to give it an offset value of 109. I think that would place it where we want it to be. Okay, 109, and then we're going to come over here to the vertical orientation, and now for the vertical orientation we're going to leave it at the bottom, and then we're going to give the offset a value of we're going to change this unit from percentage to pixel, and we're going to give it a value of, let's say 0. As you can see, no value at all. So it's now placed here, and then we'll now have a problem of this, but not to worry about that. We're just going to come over to our border radius. Now for this border radius, we're just going to change this value here from 50 to the top. We're going to change it to 30, and then for the right we're going to leave it at 0, and for the bottom we're going to change it to 30, and then for the left we're going to leave it at 0. So we're going to have something that looks like this. Our figure is now coming into shape, so we'll have that problem at the bottom. So to fix that, we're going to come over to the box shadow. Now we're going to click on this, and then for the horizontal we're going to give the horizontal a value of 18, give it a value of 18, and then for the vertical we're going to give the vertical a value of 13. Okay, and then for the spread, we're going to give it a value of -2. Okay, so we can see what we have here now. It now looks better now. Okay, so now that we've done that, the next we're going to work on is this. We're going to add our inverted border radius here. So to do so, just going to come over here and we're going to toggle this, the image box container, and then we'll come over to the content box container. Okay, for the content box container, we need to drop a spacer within the content box container. So we're just going to click on this Rubik's cube icon here, and then we're going to come here and drag a spacer and try to drop it here. You will notice that it's not possible for you to drop it right within this content box container, but we're going to make use of the navigator to do so. So we're just going to drag it right above the inner, and then we're just going to drag it okay, let's toggle this, and then we're just going to drag it up below it, so it's now perfectly placed within the content box container. So we're just going to come over to the space and give it a space value of 60 pixel. We head over to the advanced settings, and then we're going to change the custom width to pixel unit pixel, and then give it a value of 60 pixel, just like we've done with the various spacer. And then we're going to come over here to the position and give it a position value of absolute, and then for the horizontal orientation, we're going to leave it at the left, and then for the value we still leave it at 0. So for the vertical orientation, we're going to give it change it from the top to the bottom. Okay, and then we're going to come over here and set the offset to a value of, let's say, 140. See if it gives us, okay, it takes it to exactly where we want it to be. Okay, so we're just going to come over to the background just like we've done before and change the background color to green. Okay, so we have something like this. Okay, it's not perfectly placed, so we're just going to move it again. Let's go back to the layout and give it a value of, let's say, 50, 150, and let's see. Okay, it's not perfectly placed. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to come over here to the border, and we're going to give it a border radius of 30 pixel all around. So we'll have a perfect cycle, which you can see now. Okay, all right, so the next thing we're going to do is we'll come over to the box shadow just like we've done before, give it a value of solid white, like so, and then we're going to come over and change the blur to 0, blur value 0, and we're going to give the horizontal value to be -30, and then for the vertical we're going to give the vertical value to be -30 likewise. Then we're going to, let's see what we've done first. Okay, so we can see that there is a problem here. Box shadow is affecting our image box container, so we're going to fix that by coming over to the spread, and we're going to give the spread a value of, let's say, -6. Let's see if it takes it away. All right, it takes it away. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the background, and we're going to change this to a transparent background. So we now have a perfect inverted border radius. Okay, so now that we've done this and everything now looks fine, the next thing we're going to do here is we're just going to try to populate our design. So for the image box, we're going to come over to the image box and we'll go to the style option, and we're going to give it a background. The image box, we're going to give it a background. So we're going to give it a background image. Now I have a lot of images in my library, so I'm just going to select any image I can work with. Let's choose this image. Okay, now we're going to come over here and change the position center, and then for the repeat we're going to set it to no repeat, and for the display size we're going to set it to hover, so we'll have something like that. Okay, now that we've done that, the next thing we're going to do, we'll come over to the content box. For the content box, we're going to add some items to it. Okay, so let's come over to the right, this one here. We're going to click on this plus icon here, and we're going to drag a button to it. So just drag and drop this button here, and for the button we can just change the text to let's say read more, contact us, depend on whatever you're using this container, this design for. So we're going to come over to the style option and then give it a background color of let's say black. Okay, so we have something that looks like this. Okay, and then we're going to come over here and let's toggle this back to. So we're going to drag and drop a container, another container here within this content box where we're going to add our content. So we'll click on this Rubik's Cube icon here and drag a container. Just like we find it difficult for the spacer, we're also going to find it difficult to place that container within this content box. So same method we did, we're just going to drag it and drop it right above the spacer, and then we're going to bring it bottom, and we now have something like this. Okay, so now for this container here, what we're going to do here is we're going to come over to the advanced settings for the container, and we're going to unlink this, give it a value of 20 to the right, 20 to the left, 20 to the bottom, 20 to the left as well. And then for the top, we're going to leave it at 0. So we're just going to click on this plus icon here and drag a heading to it. And we're going to give it a text, let's say post title heading, or post title 1, whatever. Let's say post title 1. Yeah, and then we're going to go to the style option and give it a background, a text color to white, change the text color to white. And then we're going to come over here, we're going to drag a text editor right below the post title, go to the style option, change the color to white as well. So we now have something that looks like this. So it depends on how you want. You can still change the alignment. You can change the alignment to the right or to the center. Change this to the center depending on how you want it to look like. Okay, so you now have this design. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to make our design responsive in all screen. So to do so, let's turn on our responsive mode and let's come over to the tablet. Okay, it doesn't look nice, so just what we're going to do is we're going to click on this parent container here to fix this. We'll go to the layout and then we're just going to come over to the width and we're going to change it to percent and give it a value of 45%. We can notice that there is something wrong here with our inverted border radius here, so let's preview it and see. Okay, see, it's not well positioned here. Okay, so to fix that, we're just going to come over to the spacer here and then we'll go to the advanced settings on the spacer and we'll come down to the horizontal orientation and we're going to change the value from the value we had on the PC, but for the tablet it's going to be a bit lower, which we're going to change it to 95 pixel, and let's see if it fits. Well, if it fixes our problem. Okay, it fixes our problem. Okay, so now for our tablet everything looks fine on our tablet. Now let's go to the mobile and let's see what we have on our mobile design. It doesn't look great at all, so but not to worry, we can always fix this. So for the mobile, let's come over here back to the parent container and then we're going to change the width for the parent container. We're going to change our width to let's say, let's take it to 85 and let's see. Okay, 85 looks great. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over to the image box container. Now for the image box container, we're going to give it a go to the layout and we're going to change our minimum height. Let's give it a minimum height of 250. Okay, and then now for this container within the image box, now let's come over and give it a width. Let's change the width value and give it a width of let's say 60%. Let's say 60%. 60. Let's see what. Okay, all right. Okay, now that we've done that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change the height, the minimum height as well. We're going to change the minimum height from 90 pixel to, let's take it down to something like let's say 75. Okay, okay, now that we've done that, we can see, yep, everything is almost coming well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here to um let's go to the spacer we used here, the spacer here, so we can adjust it properly. And then for that spacer we're going to come over to the horizontal orientation. For the horizontal orientation we're going to leave it to the left, and then we're going to change the offset. Let's reduce the offset to let's say 50, let's see 57 and see. Okay, this doesn't cut it. Let's take it to 60 and let's see. Okay, 61. Let's leave it at 62 and let's see. Okay, 63. All right, 63 it is. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to come to the content box. Now for the content box, we're going to do some little tweaking here. So in order for us to do that, we're going to come over to the left box. Now for the left, we're going to give it a full width value to percentage, and then we're going to give it a width of 45%. Okay, and then we're going to give it a minimum height of 70 pixel. 70 pixel. And we're going to go to the right, and then for the right, we're going to give it a width of 55%, and then we're going to give the minimum height to be 75% as well. 70% as well. 75%. Okay, let's go back to this left box, and then let's give it width of 75%, and then let's go to the inner container, and then let's give it the same width as 75% as well. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to come over here. We're going to go back to our image box, this image box, and let's go to the margin. Let's change the margin. So let's first of all unlink this, and then let's give the margin to the bottom a value of, let's say, minus 80. Okay, so we can see now our shape is coming into, our design is coming into form. Now we need to fix this with our spacer here. So to do so, we're just going to come over to the content box. Now for the content box, we'll come down to our spacer. Where is it? Where is the spacer? Yeah, this is the spacer. All right, now for this spacer here, we're going to go to the advanced settings. For the spacer, we'll come down to for the horizontal orientation, we're still going to leave it to the left, and then for the offsets, let's give it a value. Let's say we give it a value of -1, and then let's come over to the vertical orientation. Now for the vertical orientation, let's give it a value of, let's increase our value and let's see. Nope, let's come down. Oh, sorry, let's come down to, let's say, 165, and then let's see. Voila, everything now looks great. So we can just come over to this title here, do some minor tweaking, reduce the font size to let's say 20 pixel to 20 pixel or 25, depends on what you want. And then we can do the same here for this text here. We can reduce it to 16 pixel. Okay, all right, so now that we've done everything and everything now looks well, so we can just click on the update and we can preview on our live site. Click on the preview changes on our live site, and voila, we now have this. So we've come to the end of this tutorial. I hope you find this tutorial helpful. If you're new to our channel, please remember to hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon so you get notified first when I drop a new video. If you have any confusion or suggestion, feel free to drop it on the comment section of this video, and I will do well to attend to as many as I can. Until then, see you on our next video. Bye bye.